I find that even if you have been on Clever for a while, it's helpful just to get an overview and a refresher of the many parts that Clever is involved with. So here at Clever, we like to think about a world before and after Clever. Before Clever, there used to be many systems and connection points, but with Clever, there's a single point of data transfer and sign-on. And there's a couple things that Clever does in particular. Our main product is rostering, or what we call secure sync. Districts push data from their student information system to Clever and use a point-and-click system to share that data with specific applications. As Clever is sharing that data with applications, Clever is automatically creating and organizing teacher and student accounts in learning applications. So that's our secure sync product. Secondly, you can also think of Clever as an application management platform. The Clever portal is a central place for teachers and students to find all of their applications. Clever Instant Login is our single sign-on solution, and it enables teachers and students to have just one set of credentials to access the portal and then all of their applications.
Here at Clever, we've been busy for the last 12 months. We've added a number of new partnerships that we're really excited about, and the Clever family has really grown. Some that really stand out are NWA map testing, so you can bulk upload all of your students for the NWA assessment. We're really excited about our new partnership with ABC Mouse and Microsoft, and coming this summer, actually a partnership with Naviance. So if you use Naviance in your district, be sure to ask your rep about the Clever integration. So let's move into talking about ending the year on Clever. We imagine many of you joined the webinar for exactly that topic. We'll begin, if you've logged into your Clever dashboard at this point, you've probably noticed that we've launched a new year-end guide to help you walk through wrapping up the year on Clever. You'll first set pause dates in the year-end guide, and then move into help start planning what applications you'd like to use for the 17-18 school year. At that point, you'll also be prompted to start adding new team members to the Clever dashboards to really help with your Clever rollout come the fall. And then you'll end by learning about a few new features we've rolled out this year that you might be interested in introducing to students and teachers in August and September.
Great. So before we hop into the guide, because we are going to go through the end of year guide together, we wanted to highlight the most important step in the guide, which is pausing your sync for the summer. So here are some main points you need to know about pausing your sync. While your sync is paused, Clever will not process any data coming from your student information system. This is true if you have an auto sync or an SFTP sync. This allows you to make changes in your SIS for the new school year without interrupting student or teacher access to apps. What this looks like in Clever is that your 16-17 data is frozen in Clever for the whole time that you're paused. While you're paused, you can still adjust sharing permissions for apps. So let's say you add an app and you want to choose which section should be shared, which students should be shared. You can still do that with your existing data in Clever, but we will not be syncing new data from your SIS. So when do you pause your sync? We recommend beginning your pause on the last day of school. That way Clever can capture those enrollments before they become inactive and no longer available. We recommend setting your pause end date 2 to 3 weeks before the first day of school, or as soon as your SIS has rolled over to the new school year. And the reason why we say a few weeks before the first day of school is that we really recommend you have a bit of a buffer window to get your application set up, make sure the accounts that are in those applications look right, make sure all the data is aligned, and we really want you to be entering the new school year feeling confident with the data that's syncing from Clever to the application. So that's why we say maybe 2 to 3 weeks before the first day of school. But what's most important at the end of the day is that your SIS has rolled over to the 17-18 school year.
Great. Now that Brenna has talked to us a little bit more about pause dates, let's actually work through the year-end guide. So I'm going to hop into a Clever demo account here. And I am going to launch my year-end guide. So on your left-hand navigation bar, you should see this little school bus and the year-end guide. And from this page, again, I'm just going to click Launch Guide, and that's going to take me right into wrapping things up for the school year. As Brenna mentioned, we suggest pause and unpause dates based around your end of school year date and your start of the school year date. So I'm going to throw in some fake dates here. I'm going to pretend I'm ending tomorrow. Wouldn't that be nice? And then I'm going to come back to school sometime in August. Let's say August 21st.
Yeah, and just to note, these are your school year dates. So these are not your pause dates just yet. So this first calendar portion is just for your school year dates.
Once I've thrown in my school year dates there, Clever is going to try to populate some sync pause dates or recommend some sync pause dates for me. So Clever is going to recommend that my pause start date be just the last day of the 16-17 school year. That way, all students from the 16-17 school year have access to their applications over the summer. And then Clever is going to suggest that my pause end date be that 2 to 3 weeks before the first day of school. Again, the idea there is that you'll have a little bit of time to work with applications to make sure those rosters are updated before students are actually back in their seats. As Brenna mentioned, if you actually know the date that your SIS is going to roll over, please feel free to adjust that pause end date and set it closer to that SIS rollover date. At the very bottom of this page, you'll also see an option here to indicate that you don't want to set a sync pause. If you don't set your sync pause, that means that Clever is going to update with any of the information that's currently in your SIS. Again, so if at the end of the year you clear out your SIS and all of those records are emptied out, no students would have access to their applications over those summer months.
Yeah, exactly. So you can choose to opt out of a sync pause, but that just means that whatever is active in your SIS is what's going to be in Clever. So if 16-17 data is no longer active in your SIS, then that data will get removed from Clever and it will no longer be in Clever shared with apps. So that's why we really recommend pausing your sync at the last day of school so we can capture that 16-17 data. Now we are seeing a few questions come in about summer school. How does the pause work with summer school? What date should we set for summer school? And summer school is a bit of a tricky issue. We do work with so many schools across the country, and every school sets up summer school a little bit differently. Generally, the best practice with summer school or student access in general to Clever is to think about, okay, which students need access to Clever and the connected apps over the summer. If you're planning to use Clever applications during summer school, and those summer school sections will be active in your SIS, you may choose to not pause your sync. Those summer school sections will sync to Clever, and they'll continuously get updated in your applications. However, if the 16-17 data still needs to be in Clever and have access to those applications, then you may want to get the 16-17 data plus the summer school data captured in that last sync. If there's any sort of overlap, that you can make sure that both the summer school and 16-17 school data is in Clever.
I'm sure there'll be more questions about summer school towards the end, and we're definitely happy to field those. Again, every district seems to handle summer school a little bit differently. But kind of the easiest setup here, if you want students to have 16-17 schools have access over the summer, set those pause dates so we freeze what's in the SIS as of that last date. Great, so the first step then of the year-end guide is complete. I'm just going to save and continue. And that's going to take me to this next screen where I'm actually going to be prompted to start planning or selecting which applications I'd like to use for the 17-18 school year. I'll be very clear about this page. This isn't actually adding any applications or any resources to your Clever dashboard yet. This is just intended to be a planning tool so that you can start to queue up those resources and start to get ahead of that planning piece. Before I actually go through adding any applications, we're actually going to take a step back, and Brenna's going to walk us through the different types of applications that are on Clever.
Great, yeah. So when you're on this page and you're thinking about which types of apps you would like to add for the 17-18 school year, you'll notice that there's a few different types of integrations. First, we have a secure sync. These types of apps maintain up-to-date rosters by Clever securely transferring your district's data to automatically create student, teacher, and admin accounts within that application. There's also an instant login app. Instant Login app means this learning program supports automatic single sign-on through Clever. So this means that students and teachers can log into the portal with that one set of credentials, and then they can click on the application and get logged in. No additional steps needed. Many of our partnered applications have both Secure Sync and Instant Login enabled. And you'll see that in the app gallery as you scroll through the different apps. Up to this point, these were the only two types of applications that were on Clever. If an application wasn't a Clever partner or didn't have this built integration with Secure Sync or Instant Login, then you couldn't add it to your Clever portal. However, recently we developed a third type of Clever app. And this type of integration is aimed towards apps that don't yet have that partnership with Clever. And we call these our saved password apps. These apps don't integrate with Instant Login, but can still be accessed through single sign-on in the Clever portal. What this looks like is Clever securely vaults users' credentials using a Chrome extension. This means you're going to still be setting up the syncing data and setting up credentials within that application, because again, they haven't built that integration with Clever where Clever is doing this for you, but you can still have that single sign-on through the portal. And we know this is a lot of information, and we're actually going to do a deeper dive on saved password apps later on in this webinar. But I just wanted to highlight this now, so as we go through this step in the year-end guide, you're aware of what a saved password app really means.
Great, so let's work through step 2 of the year-end guide at this point. Again, Brenna was talking about Secure Sync, Instant Login, and Saved Password apps, and you'll notice those labels under each of these application names. So it looks like ABC Mouse here is both Secure Sync and Instant Login partnered with Clever. Now, you'll notice that I don't have any saved password applications listed, and that's because I haven't actually enabled that feature. Again, as Brenna mentioned, we're going to do a deeper dive into saved password applications towards the end of this webinar, but that is something you'd actually want to enable on your account. All right, so for this example, I'm just going to add NWA because I don't want to do the bulk upload in the fall. Maybe I'll add ABC Mouse because they're a new partner, and code.org because there's going to be some coding sections in my class. Again, I'm just starting to plan these applications for next year. I'm not actually adding them to my dashboard yet. This is just intended to be a planning tool as you continue to work over the summer. So I will save and continue. Looks like my internet connection is a little bit slow here, so I'm just going to refresh. I had a lot going on. And the third step of the guide is actually to assign school tech leads. Before we actually get into working on this step, let's actually take another step back and talk about the different user role types available on Clever. So we've found that our most successful districts have the whole team involved in Clever. So we've added user roles to help you share Clever with more stakeholders in the district. And our ultimate goal is that this is going to ensure that your software adoption rollouts go a little bit smoother, that you have more communication across the district, and then ultimately this rollout is more successful. We've introduced 2 different user role types in Clever. The first is the district curriculum lead role, which is great for individuals who make purchasing decisions for applications and influence core curriculum. These users will have read-only access to the Clever dashboard, so they won't be able to change sharing rules, they won't be able to change the way students are logging in, they'll just have read-only access to that account. The second user role we've introduced is the school tech lead. And this is really great for individuals at school sites who help implement technology and train teachers on that software. They have school site specific access, so they only have access for the school sites at which they work, and they can help you manage Clever badges and customize their school's Clever portal. Again, just want to emphasize they only have access to the school site that you give them access to.
Great, yeah, so on this page, this is where you can assign school tech leads that Brandon just described. If you've already uploaded school admins, you'll see the school admins listed here. And you can simply check the school admin and click Upgrade Users and Continue. School admins in general will only have access to log into the Clever portal and then click on an app as an admin. But this school tech lead has all those heightened abilities as indicated on the right-hand side and what Brandon just went over. Now, if your account doesn't already have school admins uploaded, you'll notice that you don't see any admins listed here. There should be a link to a Help Center article that explains how you can upload school admins to your account.
All right, we are making good time through this year-end guide. The last step here is just for you to indicate which Clever features you're interested in learning more about. So if you're interested in learning more about any of these features, I encourage you to go through and check them. And then our team will be able to supply you with additional resources on the setup and kind of what that implementation looks like. Brennan and I are actually going to walk through each of these features in depth, so you each have a better idea before you go through checking and you click save there. So let's jump back to our presentation. And actually, before we begin, we want to know what you all are interested in learning more about. So we're going to launch another poll. You tell us what you want us to spend more time focusing on. We've got Clever badges, we've got saved password applications. We could talk about customizing your Clever portal, the school tech lead role that Brennan and I both just spoke about, or adding applications. All right, looks like a lot of folks want to know more about those saved password apps, so we're happy to spend time there. And then also some time talking about the customizing the Clever portal. We'll give it just a couple more seconds here as you all vote. Awesome. Again, we plan to spend time talking about all of these features, but this is a helpful indication that we'll spend a little bit more time talking about those safe password apps. All right, so the first feature we wanted to discuss with you all was actually just customizing your Clever portal. So on your Clever portal, you can actually add custom links. So you can add links to your district's webpage. Districts that have Google will add Google Drives and Google Docs. And you can then group those applications or group those resources into categories. The ultimate goal of this Clever portal is that it's going to feel like a personalized and unique experience for each student that's logging in. We want all of their learning resources to be available and only those learning resources that are actually pertinent to them. So I'm going to demo this feature as well. If I'm in my Clever account, I can click on where it says portal here in the upper right hand corner. So between dashboard and my name, I'm going to click portal. And that's going to log me into the district level view of the Clever portal. As the district admin, I'm going to see all of the applications that I've added to my account. Students, however, and teachers are only going to see those resources that you've shared with them. So in this example, let's say Bookopolis is an application that's only used by K through 5 students. When a 9th grade student logs into the Clever portal, they're not going to see this Bookopolis icon. If I hop over here to the right-hand side where it says Customize Portal, this is where I can start really, again, personalizing this experience for my students. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a section for coding resources. So I'm going to call this Coding Resources. And then all I have to do is click on the code.org icon, and I can start dragging all these coding applications up under my coding resources. I can add an additional category here, and I can call this Instant Login Apps. And I can start dragging Bookopolis and some of these up here under this category. What's really nice is that you can also reorder these categories in the order you'd like them to appear. A lot of districts also like to add external links, so external resources to this page so that their students have easy access. So under this Instant Login App, I'm going to just click Add Link here. And I am going to actually just add a link for the Google search engine. I want my students to be able to easily navigate to that page. However, in this example, I don't want my kindergarten students being able to access or to have a link to the Google website. So under where it says Google, I can click Edit, and I can actually control which students at which school sites see this additional resource that I've added. So I can say hey, I really only want 12th and 11th grade students to see the Google search page, and I only want students at one of my 2 high schools to have access. I would click Save Link. I could add another link here, and I could create a custom link. So a lot of districts will add their district website, or they'll add school-specific websites if those exist. Throw in the URL. You can also upload a custom image. So if you have like a district logo or like a school mascot, we see a lot of that when we work with districts. And then again, I can control who sees this link. Sometimes districts will add teacher-only resources, or they'll scope it so only certain schools see those that we've added. I've got some funny school names here, so I will just click Add Link. No, I don't actually have a link in there. And then just click Publish Changes. And now when students log in, everything's in a little bit better order.
Awesome. So we just wanted to highlight that, as that's like a really good task to complete over the summer, is thinking about ways that you can customize your portal for the 17-18 school year. So when students log in on perhaps the first day of school, first week of school, they already have their resources there. And I think this is a really good time to emphasize why the school tech lead is so helpful. The school tech lead can actually customize the portal for a specific school site. So if you're not really sure what resources or external links are used at a specific school site, the school tech lead can add those external links if they know, okay, these grade levels really use this school page, or these students use this external resource. They can go ahead and update the portal so it's relevant for their school as well. So I think that's one of the reasons why we emphasize adding the school tech leads this summer, is so you can really get the portal fleshed out. So thinking about the portal, just kind of as a recap, like Brandon said, it's personalized for each student. You can drag and drop to customize it. What's really nice is that it's the same login experience for students across different schools in the district. Again, one-stop shop. And the last thing with the portal that's really been effective lately is having single sign-on into any application. And that's where we talk about the saved password applications. And we know a lot of you are interested in learning more about this. So let's go back into the dashboard and see how you can enable saved password applications. I'm going to actually exit this guide and go to the left-hand side and click on Portal. I just wanted to highlight here that you can adjust your portal URL. If you haven't done so already, this is a really great opportunity to have a portal URL that is easy for students and teachers to remember. So I just want to highlight that on this page. You can edit your portal URL. But if you go down to the middle, you'll see Universal Single Sign-On Saved Passwords. For our account, it's disabled, but I'm going to go ahead and enable it. By clicking Enable, all that does is it shows the saved password applications available in the app gallery. It doesn't mess up anything else with your account, so you can feel free to click Enable, and if you no longer want to see those apps in your gallery, then you can click Disabled at a later point. Great. So I'm just going to go to the applications on my left-hand side and then click Add Applications. Now you'll see that the applications shown are a little bit differently than what we saw in the guide previously. Suddenly we have these apps right here indicated saved passwords. Now, as a recap again, saved password applications mean they have not built in that automatic integration for securely syncing data to their program or having instant login. So saved passwords means that Clever is securely vaulting users' credentials using a Chrome extension. And I really want to highlight this Chrome extension because if you're using mostly iPad devices, unfortunately iPads do not support the Chrome extension. We first focused all of our efforts on creating support within a Chrome browser, and now we're really putting our efforts towards making saved passwords available in iPads. But as it stands right now, you do need a Chrome browser with a Chrome extension enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and request accelerated math. This question is just asking down the line, would you like rostering to be supported to be a secure, Clever Secure Sync? Because right now it doesn't. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I would. Or no, and then click request. Upload credentials. This brings you to the saved password page. Now, again, because Clever doesn't have that integration for instant login, it means that you have to manually manage the credentials for those programs. And you can do so in two ways. You can upload the credentials centrally as a district admin. Let's say you already have a file of students' usernames and passwords. You can upload them on this page. If I scroll down, you'll see some more information on how you can upload these files. Alternatively, if you don't want to manage the usernames and passwords for the students who will be using this app, you can click this checkbox that says Skip Manual Credential Upload. What this means is that students, the first time that they log into the portal, they'll click on Accelerated Math, and Clever will ask them for their username and password. They'll enter it, and from then on, Clever will store their username and password, and they won't have to enter it again, just that very first time that they sign on. If you want them to not have to do that step altogether, that's when we suggest uploading the credentials centrally. You'll input your district login URL so Clever knows where to take the student. And then you'll also select which users you want to see this application on their portal. So if you only want students in a certain grade level, you can create a rule for that. Or if you want the entire district, you can select that option.
Awesome. So let's move into talking about Clever Badges. Clever Badges are one of my favorite tools that we've introduced. And they're not to be confused with merit badges. They're actually 2-inch by 2-inch QR codes that students can physically hold up to the webcams of their devices to get logged in. So students no longer need a username or password. We know that can be really challenging for those younger students. All they need to do is hold up that QR code and it'll get them logged into the Clever portal and then into all of their apps. Again, this is really intended for the youngest students in your district, and we found it's actually a more secure alternative than having every student's password be something like dog or having it taped to their desk. If you're interested in piloting Clever Badges, we've actually made the distribution a little bit easier. So you'll have the ability to print badges by school site. You'll have the ability to download all of the badges for that school site or only new badges as new students enter the district. And then you'll also have the option to print badges for individual students. So if you needed to replace one-off badges, that's possible. Again, to circle back to that school tech lead, this is where it can be really nice to have those folks in Clever. Let's say for my demo account, I have a school tech lead uploaded for Westwood Elementary. That person would be able to log into Clever, and they would only see this first line here. So they would only be able to print badges for that specific school site. Again, they would then be able to come in and print all badges or just print badges for new students as they enter the district, which basically means you have more folks involved in helping sure students can get logged in. I don't have it demonstrated here, but teachers can also help students manage badges through their Clever portal. So with the school tech lead role, you now have district admins, school tech leads, and teachers all involved in helping make sure students have access to these different resources.
Awesome. We also wanted to highlight one of my favorite features on Clever, and that's the Clever Badges and Chromebooks integration. So if you're using Chromebooks at your district, you might want to take a listen to this. We've enabled badges to log students into their Chromebooks. So not only the Clever portal, but actually they can just lift the lid of their Chromebook, hold up the badge to the webcam, and they'll get logged into their Chromebook, which means their Chrome session. It means their Google session and all of their Google apps, as well as the Clever portal, which means all of your apps that you have on Clever, including those saved password apps. This can be configured on the badge settings tab in the dashboard. So if we just take a look back at this screenshot, you'll see that there's a little tab next to distribution that says Chromebook. It requires a lot of setup in your Google Admin Console, but by clicking on the Chromebook tab right over here, we'll walk you through a guide that shows you exactly which settings to check off in the Google Admin Console, and you can get this up and running. Again, this is another great task to do over the summer to play around and see if this would be a useful tool for your students, and then you can roll it out more broadly for the 17-18 school year. So definitely recommend checking it out.
Couple of questions that usually come up around this point is, this is an awesome tool, but how much are Clever Badges going to cost me? Clever does not charge for this tool, so we actually don't charge for any of the Secure Sync or the single sign-on solutions we offer. We 1/3 of the folks working here at Clever are actually former teachers or district admins themselves. So we believe that this entire integration and sign-in process should be easier and smoother for your students. One nice feature about this Clever Badges into Chromebooks in the Google Admin Console is that you can actually roll it out on an OU by OU basis. So Brenna mentioned getting things set up over the summer. You can actually set everything up in a test OU, perform a whole proof of concept for your director of technology or your director of curriculum, and make sure they feel really comfortable before you push this out to all the K through 2 Chromebooks in your district. And then lastly, a question that typically comes up is, hey, if we set up Clever Badges into Chromebooks, can our students only log in with Clever Badges? And the answer to that is no. Students will still be able to log in with their Google credentials. So if you have shared devices in the district, so like a kindergarten student and a 5th grade student use the same Chromebook between different periods, that 5th grade student could still log in with their Google credentials, and the kindergarten student could log in with a Clever Badge.
Great, so we're getting some awesome questions coming in about saved password apps, and we're gonna get back to those on the questions portion. But before we dive into too many questions, we wanna just touch base on some upcoming webinars that are happening this summer. Our number one goal here at Clever is to make sure that you feel prepared for back to school. So we're gonna have a lot of resources coming your way. We're going to having some webinars covering specific Clever features, dive deeper on specific products like badges, user roles, universal single sign-on. And this might be helpful if you have a colleague who's interested in learning more about one of these features in particular. If they're going to be the point person, you can pass on one of these webinars to them. We're also going to be having trainings for school tech leads. So some of you might be worried, okay, so I'm adding these school tech leads, but it's going to be my responsibility to also train them. And the answer is no, we are here for you. So we will be having these trainings throughout the summer for school tech leads. And we're also going to be having this back to school guide every 2 weeks. So if some of your colleagues couldn't make it, we will have this webinar throughout the summer. We'll also be modifying it slightly as the summer progresses. Right now, we've focused mostly on the year-end guide and adding these new features to Clever so you can kind of explore it over the summer. But as the summer progresses, our back to school webinar will really cover what it looks like to add apps and set up sharing permissions, and what things to look out for when you are getting those applications set up. So wanted to highlight that. We will be following up on these webinar dates. We're also going to be rolling out a new Clever website, which will have a page that will host all of these new websites, all these new webinars. So stay tuned for that.
Great, and without further ado, let's start taking some of your questions. Looks like a number of questions have come in about whether Clever works on iPads and if Clever has an iPad app. So currently we are developing an iPad app. We're really excited to launch that application over the summer. We haven't gone live yet because a number of our application partners are actually still working on building their integration. So please keep checking your inboxes. We're hoping to go live with that sometime towards the end of June or early July. At that point, Clever Badges will actually work with the iPad app. So your students will be able to log into the Clever iOS app using their Clever Badge, just like they can on a desktop or laptop that has a webcam.
All right, so we had a question with what happens with the Saved Password app if that app requires password changes every 3 to 6 months? It's a great question. So in that case, we would have you skip the manual upload of credentials and have the student enter it. And if a student's credentials into an application change and the initial credentials in the Clever Vault no longer work, we'll prompt the student to enter their new credentials and we'll store those new credentials moving forward. So Clever will recognize that the credentials no longer work and we'll have them input them again.
Just as a follow-up to the saved passwords question, we have a question around what if new students enter the district and they don't have credentials uploaded. So if a student clicks on a link for a saved password application and you have not already uploaded credentials for them, they'll just be prompted to enter those credentials on the front end. So they'll be prompted to enter their username and password. If that set of credentials works, they'll be logged in and Clever will securely vault those credentials for the next time they log into the Clever portal. We have another question around summer school and just whether students can still access the Clever portal over the summer if your sync is paused. And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. If your sync is paused, students from the 16-17 school year will still be able to log into Clever with the same credentials and access their application resources.
We have a great question on how do I contact Clever support? We'll show you right now how you can do that. So from the dashboard, you have a couple options for getting access to help. So there's a little question mark up here. If you go down to the Help Center, that will take you to the Help Center, which is full of really helpful resources and articles. You can use the search to search for a particular topic. You can also click Contact Us if you want to reach out to our support team. Our support team is incredible and they will get back to you under 4 hours. Oftentimes we'll get back to you within just a couple hours. And they're really your go-to team if you have any technical questions about Clever. I also wanted to highlight that the community is a really awesome resource. And the community is where you can join in any conversations with other district administrators about best practices. And you can also give product feedback down here. And our product managers here at Clever love looking at this feedback and oftentimes will reply directly to you. So if you have some feedback on how the product is working for you, you would really like to see something new or something different, we encourage you to post in this channel and we'll definitely take your feedback to heart. We've also had district admins post on this if they had questions, not really being sure how other district admins in a similar position handle an issue. And so that's why we really encourage you to go to this community. From your dashboard, you can also access the community through this question mark. There's also this little help icon down in the lower left-hand corner. And by clicking that, you can search for certain, if I type in saved passwords, it shows up different help articles. You can also click Contact Us if you want to go ahead and send a support ticket. So we love to hear from you, and we're definitely here to help support you in any way we can. So those are the resources at your fingertips to getting support.
Please keep sending in those questions. We're happy to spend the next several minutes answering any questions you might have. If you've asked a question and we don't respond to it on this webinar, it's only because the response might require a little bit more specific information, but rest assured we will follow up with you after the webinar to answer all of those. So keep the questions coming. We did have one question from an individual about how to set up Clever badges. We talked all about badges, but didn't actually walk you through the setup. So if you're still logged into your Clever account, on the left-hand side here, you can go to Settings and then Badge Settings. And actually, the first step will ask you to configure badges. So you'll be able to select which grade levels you intend to use badges with and at which school sites. Again, my school sites have some funky names here. If I save my selection, it then takes me to this Distribution tab, and I can check which schools I'd like to download all the badges for. And then here is also just that download a badge for a single student, how you can download those individual badges. Just another plug for our Help Center. If you actually search badges, you'll see a number of really helpful articles that we've already written about how to set up badges, how you can configure them with instant login, how teachers can print badges. But you'll also see posts from other folks in the Clever community about how they've rolled out badges. One of my favorite chains is actually this Clever Badges rollout best practice chain, where a bunch of districts commented on how they rolled out badges in their districts. So feel free to log in and steal some of these ideas.
One thing we highlighted, one thing I want to highlight, but we haven't highlighted yet, is in the year-end guide, when you're all done, you'll see that your shortlisted apps are listed right here when you go back to the guide. And so these are the apps that you chose to have us save for you and revisit for the 17-18 school year. But if you know you're ready to go ahead and get those apps set up, we encourage you to do so now. We really find that you will have a much better experience the earlier you can get set up. So as far as just making sure that the data syncs properly, that you have everything happening in a very calm, cool, collected manner instead of frantically right when students need access. So you can go ahead and click Setup Now. And what this will do is send a request to the application team. And they'll approve that request, and you'll work with them on creating a launch state. And you can set up sharing permissions for that application. So just wanted to highlight that is there's definitely no problem in getting started as soon as possible with these applications. So definitely revisit this end page and get set up with those applications.
Also, once you've completed your year-end guide here, we do have a link to some upcoming webinars. So again, as Brenna mentioned, if other folks in your team were unable to join, or you're going to add folks to the team, you can point them to this page for upcoming webinars. We also have a little bit of information, interesting information on how you can tackle the summer slide. So if those are conversations going around in your district, please feel free to review that resource we've prepared. On the note of adding team members, so if you need to add additional folks to the district account, here on the left-hand side, you can do so. So you'll see I have my team here. You all as district account owners should have the option to add additional team members or district curriculum leads to the account. Great. Keep those questions coming in. Oh, here we go. Here's the add a team member. I could add Brenna to my team if I trust her. And then just click save and she'll have access. Oh, I also have the option, let's say Brenna is actually a member of the curriculum team and I don't want to give her full access to the Clever account, but I do want her to be aware of the applications available. I could designate her as that district curriculum lead. Again, this is really good for the folks who are making application purchasing decisions in the district.
All right, so we just have a few more minutes left on this webinar, but please let us know if you have any questions. This is definitely your time to submit those questions. And Brandon already mentioned this, but if you did ask a question that's a little bit more specific to your account, then we will follow up directly with you. But if you have any questions at large about Clever, Clever on Summer, the year-end guide, let us know. We are here to help.
Great. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. And again, if we didn't address your question, it's only because we'll follow up separately because it's a bit more specific. Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate your time and again, all the work you're going to do over the summer. If you have any questions, please do refer to our help center or feel free to email our districts team at districts@clever.com and a member of our team can get back to you. Likely it'll be Brenna or myself.
All right, good luck everybody with the end of the school year. We're rooting for you.